Yeah, we can just keep talking. I don't know who's going to show up today.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. See you out there. Come on in. That chat is open. It's there. And if you want to come in and talk about yourself, let me know. If you have me PM'd over on Facebook, and just uh, drop me a message and I'll send you a link if I like you. If
The
not, then
ultimate test.
the ultimate test, I guess. Be podcast ready. Make sure you got a mic. Make sure you got a video or camera. Or fake it like Whiskey does here.
Yep.
It's time for that Sunday Funnies. Hey, we're going to wing it today. We were supposed to talk about tooting our own horn, and everybody pulled out. So nobody wanted to toot their own horn. Nobody wanted to talk about stuff. So everybody's got other stuff going on, other stuff doing, which is understandable. It's summer. It's okay. People have lives. It's all right. It's Sunday, right?
Yeah, it's sun shining. People want to go out and enjoy themselves.
I guess.
Well, unfortunately for me, work is work. So I've been at home working on some rather grisly material because I'm working on a zombie, right? And so I'm looking at all these photos of starving people, and I'm like, well, this is a good way to start your day.
Oh, what a great way! Yeah, fantastic. Hey, folks, come on in. That chat's open. There's somebody out there watching. So let me jump over to Facebook and make sure that I'm live here. I'm probably set to private again.
Arrow's done a couple zombie stuff in the past, right?
It's Arrow tradition usually to make a zombie book of one form or another.
How do you feel about drawing zombies?
Zombies are dead.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. During the last incarnation of Arrow Comics, we had a running theme that vampires suck and zombies are dead. So, but really, if you go back and look, we had Dead World back in 85, 86, really 86, by the great Vince Locke, and we had a zombie book before Arrow had a zombie book before anybody had a zombie book. So there were a few zombies in comics. In fact, the Comic Code Authority banned the word zombie in order to chase all the real high-selling comics off of the rack, so that Archie and a few other companies had a better crack at that space, because that spiral rack was limited, and that's pretty much what they cut down to, except for a few bodegas had shelves dedicated to comics, but that rack was everything. And you were the distributor would only allow so many companies, so many spaces on that rack. So that's why if you go back and you look at the early Marvel comics, most of the Marvel comics started out as bi-monthly publications, because they kept flopping more characters every other month. And why a lot of these companies were good morning. They went from anthology books to putting 2 features in a book, like Strange Tales with Doctor Strange and Nick Fury in it, and Tales to Astonish with Hulk and who else was in that book? Ant-Man started out in Tales to Astonish. Hulk come in. Submariner, I believe, was in that book. And go ahead.
No, just saying, I interrupted you, but go ahead. Like, to be honest, I was just kind of enjoying the tale. But I was going to ask at some point about the Comic Authority, because honestly, I don't know much about it, because you read about it, like in past tense, but like you lived through it, right?
I lived through the tail end of it. That it actually came into existence about not quite 10 years before I was born. So, and then it ran from 53 until the late 90s or into the 80s, at least deep into the 80s, and was slowly chipped away at. And it should have never been enacted in the first place, but that's a whole nother story. Which we can get into. We've got the episode. Come on in, folks. That chat is open. Ephraim's in the house. Ephraim, I'm happy you're here. Hello. All there. This is Creep Show Comics from the V80. What?
Probably
from
just
the 80s. Creep Show. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning, Critical Blast. Hope you're doing all right, man. Good to see you here. We're going to run a quick opening, and then we will get stuff underway. I guess we're not going to toot our own horn this morning, even though that's what the episode says, but we can talk about comics and stuff and me and whatever. And who knows? We'll see where the conversation goes. It's Sunday morning. Grab a cup of coffee, have a seat, and let's talk funny books. Hang on. Critical Blast says I got to have a cool chat with Tom DeFalco yesterday at Bentonville Con. Cool. That's awesome. Freen says I really love the intro. Well, thanks. The intro is actually made up of books and properties that are incredibly important to me. In fact, and I can blow myself up here. Here's a chance. Here's a chance to actually ride with the title of the show, Tooting Our Own Horn. I found me a copy. I was at a paper show yesterday, and we have comic shows, we have media shows here. We also have paper shows where some of the older collectors get together, and it's not just comics. It's books, it's records, it's all sorts of memorabilia, and they call those paper shows or pulp fests. You've got a couple of conventions every year. There's a big one in Pittsburgh, a big one in Chicago, a big one in LA, where they all they do is feature pulp magazines and pulp paintings and stuff like that. I went to a paper show yesterday. Great little Knights of Columbus Hall, real small, 2 small rooms. Great dealers, great stuff. And I got me a copy finally of Giant Batman Annual #7.
Damn.
80-page giant, all Dick Sprang art. It's all reprints. It's an annual. It's a giant book. Used to sell for $25, folks. Look at that. And it carries that comic code seal on there, nice and big. Anyway, this is the book, and you'll see that slide by every Sunday morning on Sunday Funnies. This is the book that I got my rear end beaten for smuggling into the house because my parents didn't want me to have superhero comics at the time. I remember that beating incredibly well. And it just made me love comics all the more, I guess. Not because of the pain, but, I'm a defiant cuss, and that's the way it works.
It's kind of like a authority, keeping things in the hands of people and censorship and things like that. It just, people just end, like you said, people just end up wanting it more, right? Like with the Comic Code Authority,
exactly right.
They ended up producing magazines? I think they were. It's where Vampirella came in. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
A little after that, but yeah. You've got that basically right. The comics. There's a fantastic history of comics. Again, I'm tooting my horn, but I'm working on a book that I'm going to finish eventually. I'm only 40 pages in, but I'm working on a book covering the history of comics because I don't think anybody's really done a definitive, just straight up, here's what comics are, here's what happened to comics, here's the parts in history that you really need to know, and the people, especially the people in there that are important, because it was just an art form. It's all made by great people that have put their love and heart into this art form. Glenn's in the house. He's not in front of the camera though. He's cuddling up with COVID. He's listening while I cuddle my COVID. Have a good one, guys.
Feel better.
Glenn, we hope you and your wife are feeling better soon. So make sure you treat every symptom seriously, because I let my cough get into my lungs and I ended up paying for it for a good 6 months. So
on the medicinal side, there were hospitals, I can't remember which country were using it, but they didn't have enough of the medicine that was, the people they were distributing, and they used turmeric to help, or turmeric tea to help reduce the symptoms. But turmeric helps protect your organs and your lungs and all that stuff, and it's naturally good at protecting that stuff and helping prevent damage to it. So take as much turmeric as you can possibly can. Fresher the better. Eat it. Probably can't taste anything anyway, so just scarf it down.
Well, my first visit back to my regular doctor, she kind of yelled at me, and I almost yelled back at her and said, "You weren't around." and I had to go, and I ended up in the emergency room. But she said if you'd have gotten a hold of me, it would have been zinc and vitamin B, vitamin C, and just double up on all the vitamins that you were normally taking, and boost your immune system in order to fight it, because it's a virus, it's a flu,
Mhm.
and it needs to be treated like a flu, despite what anybody said. We don't really want to turn this into a medical show, but I went down that rabbit hole after I woke up and got back around and started doing a lot of reading and a lot of studying and getting angrier by the minute at the system in general, and these idiotic protocols that they put into place to start with, because they believed that China was the end all know all for the disease. So it was, don't take ibuprofen, don't touch your face, and all of this, and get on the respirator and that kind of stuff. Well, getting on that respirator I think hurt more people than helped. So
As soon as they made I guess a release or something, or a news statement where like green tea can't don't take green tea, it won't help you, right? I'm like, okay, I'm not listening to these people ever again.
yeah, that's a definite red flag. I mean, ibuprofen as well. If you take too much of anything, it's going to be harmful for you. Don't get me wrong. And everything in moderation. That's even stated in the Bible. Luke was a
Mhm.
doctor, and said that everything in moderation. A little wine is great for the stomach, that kind of thing. But uh, the protocols that they kicked into place, I think, hindered and exacerbated the disease more than help it. And almost as if, and I use those words um, loudly, they wanted things to get worse.
Yeah.
And it got worse when Delta come out. That's what I caught. And then it got the thing mutated downward instead of upward. And it's really now the other variants that have come out afterwards. It almost makes it like a bad flu.
Like critical blast in the comments saying they needed you sick. Like, I think it's more that they wanted you to comply, not that they needed you sick. Is that the official statement came out, and then the people that behind this thing, or the people that support it, they're kind of like collectivists. They need it to you to follow the rules, to be just like them. You know, the
Well, you also find out how many people blindly follow
yeah, exactly.
guidelines like this. And as you know now, if you've been following the news, and I probably follow it too much, Fauci's gone, the head of the CDC is gone. They're trying to put new protocols in place, blah, 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 blah. They're trying
Mhm.
to cover over the fact that the thing mutated down instead of mutated up, I think. And they knew. I think that those people were, in my opinion, should be brought up on criminal.
Of course.
And there will be, I'm sure, hearings on this for a long time to come. And it's a can of worms. You really don't want to go in a rabbit hole. You really don't want to go down, because it just drives you mad. That's what it does. And
Speaking about
mad both
rabbit holes,
mentally and physically. So yeah.
let's
Anyway, I caught me a copy of Batman. I was so happy. I told the guy, I looked at the price of it, and I said, dude, I'm not even going to try to talk you down on this. I'm just going to pay what you're asking for. I says, I don't care if it's in. He goes, well, it's in pretty good shape. I says, I don't care. I just want it. I want a copy of this book. I want to be able to read it. I want to open it up and enjoy all the great Dick Sprang artwork that's in it. It's actually got the origin of Batwoman and Batgirl and Batmite and Bathound in it, and a
well,
little background on Alfred, and a special story with Commissioner Gordon. It's just a great 80 pages of fun, you know. That's how I remember it, and I looked through it yesterday, and it's exactly how I remember it, and it's can't recommend this stuff enough. Batman's way too damn serious anymore. I mean, you need to have this kind of whimsy and this kind of fun out there, just to just to counterbalance life in general. That's the way I feel about comics.
so I had another question about comics, because I'm not as knowledgeable. But what's the difference between a direct edition and then one without that on it?
The UPC code or the
Yeah,
stamp, or what? What are we talking?
like on a lot of my comics, because I tend to get them like secondhand or whatever,
Mhm.
and wherever, like bargain, like what's it called, farmers markets, and
Reading copies. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Those are the best. Those are the best copies. Comics were made to be rolled up and tucked back in your back pocket. And nobody thought anything about making these things collectible until like the 60s. And then there was an actual market for it, and that's where the direct market comes from. Is a lot of these guys didn't want to have to deal with the hassle of the spiral rack, because there was starting to be, once people realized that there were certain books that were collectible over other certain books. Some of those books started being distributed very poorly because these guys at the distribution houses would take copies for themselves. Mm-hmm. And so that you ended up with a lot of books that were incredibly hard to find. We have another episode in Sunday Funnies about the quest, and that was part of the fun for me when I was growing up, because we had spiral racks in all the bookstore or all the drugstores and most of the grocery stores, and to know where every spiral rack was within a 20-mile radius of your house was very important, especially on comic day, because you already knew up front that the Kill Ravens, the Deathlocks, the Captain Marvels, especially the Starlin Captain Marvels, were incredibly hard to find. And other certain lower books became more valuable because of that kind of hoarding. And the real breaking point, I think, on this, just as the direct market was starting to bubble, was Howard the Duck #1. And they announced it was coming out. Then in the comic collecting circles, and by that time, the Comics Buyer's Guide was coming out, and that was a weekly newspaper that you would get mailed directly to you by subscription. That was put together by Alan Light, who ended up becoming a big reporter, one of the main key reporters for the Rolling Stone. He started Comics Buyer's Guide, and he was shipping out this newspaper every week that was mostly filled with ads with a little bit of articles, and everybody was advertising what they were looking for and what they were willing to pay higher prices for comics, or what they were willing to sell their comics in their collection for. And that was really a key part of growing comic fandom. And once the direct market started, once these distributors, the guys in the distribution houses, convinced these big companies just to sell the books directly to them, and they would worry about distributing it out to other like-minded fans who had started their own comic shops or converted their head shop into a comic shop, or their bookstore wanted to carry direct market comics. They'd mail it out. They'd be their own distributor. And so these big magazine distributors, which had no respect for comics whatsoever, they used to bundle them up with a couple of pieces of plastic wire and just toss them like newspapers, like you see in all the movies, where they drive by the newsstand and they just flop the newspaper bundle out. They didn't care about how the condition of these comics. These kids just spent a quarter or 35 cents on them and just rolled them up in their back pocket and, went on their way. So they never saw the collectability in it. And they would just drop these bundles off along with the other magazines, and it was up to the person at the store to cut it open and to display it however they wanted on their little spiral rack.
I think the only and it's damaged, of course. The only non-direct edition I have is an Amazing Spider-Man reboot, which is just the white cover, blank, #1 variant edition,
and it's got a UPC code down in the corner and.
Nothing. It's just a blank cover.
Oh, that's just a sketch cover then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says Marvel 001 variant edition Amazing Spider-Man. And then, of course, unfortunately, it's damaged at the bottom. But, it is what it is. I didn't...
Hey. Allison's in the house. Allison, how you doing?
I'm doing. How are you?
Cool. I'm all right. The Code Authority kicked in at about 53. And that was a group of these guys that were publishing comics decided to pretty much control the maintain order. Under the guise of maintaining order, decided that they were going to run the spiral racks. Yeah.
Yes. It's exactly what it was.
So I can read you some of the ridiculous requirements that the first code writing up had.
Let's do that.
Because that's in the book Comics by Comics, The History of Comic Books in America by Les Daniels. Another one of those books I hit the library on early on and checked out quite frequently. Even though it's got a lot of underground stuff in it. I think if my parents had found it at the time, they'd have freaked.
Yeah, I've always wanted a copy of that one to read because I heard it's pretty authoritative. So.
Up to this point, it's the best thing that you can find for this code history. and for the history of comics in general. Plus, it reprints a lot of great stories in it. They do it sideways and in black and white, though, but you can still read them.
Yeah.
Let me.
So this actually getting like what was written in the code, that is super hard. Because I mean, I think it was
See, they reprinted whole comic stories, 2 pages on a page.
oh nice.
And just to drive home the examples that they had. Of course, they didn't have the rights for Billy Batson, Captain Marvel, because that was under still under legalities at the time. But they reprint a great Superman story. They reprint a great Black Hawk story with a very horribly racially stereotyped Chop in it.
Where is he?
He's
oh yeah,
right there.
I see. Yep. Yeah, I see.
Bad
definitely
humor relief and terrible racial stereotype.
Yeah.
And a great Plastic Man story, but it also reprints the main stuff about the code. Let me find it. I just had it here too.
What was it with Oh, I'm trying to think of was it Striker, who was basically like,
that's the one.
What's in the code? And nobody can tell him.
I don't think that's not a newsstand edition. That's just a sketch. That's a sketch cover.
Yes,
that's made to take around to a show or to have somebody draw on it.
Interesting. Yeah, retails, I guess now for $20.
Yeah, certain books are higher than others.
Yeah, the print runs on the sketch covers can be different. So
let me. I'm going to go camera dark here for just a second as I get my magnifying glass. Hang on.
Don't do it, Randy. Oh no,
I've got to do it.
What's the cat's name in the back there?
Oh, that is Rocket.
Rocket.
He might be named after a raccoon.
Okay.
He wasn't supposed to be my cat, but well, he clawed his way into my heart. Because if the intention was that he was going to be mine, I would have named him Calvin. Because my other cat's name is Hobbs. So.
There we are. Yeah. Excellent.
But he was supposed to be my best friends, and we were going between Bandit and Rocket, and we liked Rocket. He started responding to Rocket, so we went with that.
My cat's name is Dr. Doom. So it's like I Rocket's not a bad name. I'm gonna be back in 1 second. I want to grab a coffee because I actually never got to putting the coffee thing on. So,
all right,
you guys are carrying for a minute, I guess.
We'll talk amongst ourselves. Just as I get the code up for him to listen to.
Yeah, don't look. We're still here, really.
I gotta get a magnifier out.
Oh, to actually read the code in the book.
Because the print on it is smaller than these glasses will take. Got two sets of
this issue.
2 sets of glasses. One that has a more powerful bifocal on it.
Oh, I have
you ink like a madman for a few years, and for some reason the eyes start getting blurry. So.
Yeah, I have a similar problem. I have another pair of glasses because I'm getting old. So that happens
to all of us.
Yeah, it has the polarizing lenses, so it has the zoom in one. So, but I don't wear them that often because I don't need to as much. But yeah, if I'm gonna go read a book like that has very small print, I'll be pulling them out. So,
since Whiskey's still gone, one of the things that I picked up at the show, I was just at a paper show down in Detroit. I was really, really happy. All sorts of books, all sorts of comics. I picked up a copy of a hardback copy of a book that I've had since I was a teenager, and that is the Science Fiction Hall of Fame.
Oh, nice! I haven't seen that book in years.
The greatest science fiction stories of all time. Just a great collection of great, incredible stories.
Oh, that's awesome.
So little Asimov's Nightfall is in this, and
that's a great story.
The Roads Must Roll by Heinlein, and it's a who's who, literally, of course. Arena is in this. Flowers for Algernon is in it. Just Helen O'Loy, Martian Odyssey, The Weapon Shop, by A.E. Van Vogt.
I actually haven't read that one. I've read a lot of classic science fiction.
They're all classic stories, most of which started a lot of these science fiction tropes.
Yeah, well, it's like one of my
that we so take for granted anymore.
Well, Asimov in general. I mean, without him, we wouldn't have had the whole concept of, AI and the three laws and
robotics.
How he wrote books that basically broke the three laws. But that's beside the point.
Yep.
Like even in Star Trek, they had references to Asimov talking about the positronic brain.
Roddenberry was a huge
Roddenberry too. Oh yeah, that too.
I mean, and one of the other major authors that worked on Star Trek was Harlan Ellison. So it kind of
my favorite episode. Yeah, Journey on the Edge of Forever.
I was gonna say, Journey on the Edge of Forever. That was a fantastic episode.
Just
I met
unbelievable.
him. He was a hoot. So.
Oh yeah, that's the nicest way to describe him. Yeah, he's a hoot. A lot of folks have a lot of stories about Harlan.
I met him, Peter David, and Neil Gaiman at the same show.
Wow.
And then I had drinks with them.
Cool. Must have been a great show.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
I got to shake Bradbury's hand one time at a San Diego con. Told him I know he came by with Forrest J. Ackerman, but slightly before both of them passed, and I says, I know who both of you people are. Thank you so much. So we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the two of you.
No,
it just wouldn't have happened. So that was great.
I literally walked into Stranko at a New York Comic Con.
Everybody needs to go to dinner with Steranko.
Haven't done that, but
everybody
literally walked into him.
Yeah. Oh, literally.
I had to pick him up a minute later.
You guys are so lucky to be in the U.S. Like it's a lot different over here. Sometimes we get a couple big names, but whoever decides to come over to the pond, and less and less and less as the year goes on, we'll get anybody.
You're only about 5 hours from Detroit.
Yeah, I don't drive. I mean, that's the other thing too. And then crossing the border and stuff like that.
I haven't crossed the border since 9/11. So
there you go.
I haven't been out of the country, and boy, I never have. So it's okay.
I haven't flown since 2003, but that's because I had an experience at LAX that taught me I don't want to fly. So
there you go.
I got stopped, but everybody had to go through checkpoints because this was a couple years after the towers went down. Yeah. And the guy took a pair of my trimming shears for my beard. The blade on them were probably 3/4 of an inch long, just long enough. And he clicked them together and looked at them. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to take my scissors. Because you get stuff that you're attached to and they become your favorites. And it was my favorite trimming shears. And he took them. He says, "You can't take these on there. The blade could be used as a." And I says, "I use those for my beard. It's just a pair of scissors, dude. Don't." That
was definitely overreaching.
It's not like I'm going to take them and stab somebody with them. But anyway, I get home from that trip, and at the bottom of my bag, somebody had thrown in a packing knife.
Damn.
I just got done doing a San Diego show. I knew where the packing knife came from, but it was at the bottom of my bag. After they x-rayed my bag, the guy goes for my scissors and he doesn't go for that packing knife, which I would have more than been happy to leave behind. I totally understand that.
That would have made sense.
Yes,
because they use packing knives. It's like
but that little scissors. Once he clicked them in front of him, I knew. He was going to keep them because they were an awesome pair of scissors.
Don't let anybody fool you. Randy's the actual Unabomber. He was smuggling.
It was actually the blade on that packing thing was a lot thicker. It was like a large razor, not like that. Yeah,
packing knife.
Yeah, could have been used as a lethal weapon. So
yeah,
I would, like I said, I'd have happily parted with that.
Yeah, I get
those days. Yeah.
Especially in 2003. I get that.
Yeah. Back in those days, I had a Mavica camera that I used to carry with me. And that's a camera that took digital photos and put them on the 3 3.5 floppy, the hard disk. You can just put a hard disk into there and take a shot. I loved them. love that camera because the pictures were always great, especially on the computer. And I got stopped, and the guy there, this was as they were going out, the inspector there went through the bag and found it because it was a metal box and had to look at it and know what it was.
Yeah.
But not the same guy. This guy just wanted my scissors, and that was it. And I'm like, oh, great. And then he had I was gonna put up a argument with him, and he called security over, and they were guys that were bigger than me, two of them, that came and stood on each side, and he's like, we need to keep these.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I just
Like,
would have.
I
just would have been like,
can't argue with that. I was going to make a Spank story about that too. I had it started. How he got back home and saw this big knife. It's like, oh, at the bottom of my carry-on luggage.
I lost, or not lost, but I thought I lost a guitar when I was on a trip to New Zealand, and went up to New Zealand, and this basically this story goes. I was proposing to my fiance, so we went up there, went to see the Hobbit thing, and I got up, in front of Bilbo Baggins hill from the movie set, and did the whole proposal, and then applause and all that stuff, and it was interesting. I get like a little emotional when I talk about it, so I don't talk about it very often. But when we were flying over there, I brought a guitar with me because I wanted to play the guitar, or like while I was there up on or just chilling in New Zealand and see what kind of music they had. Hit a couple open mics, and to save on some of the cost of the trip, I did some busking in Auckland, right? Or busking is, if you're not familiar with, is playing music for money.
Okay.
And so when I got there, my guitar didn't get there.
Oh boy.
So I had it there. It was, I don't even know where it was, but I had to track it down, and they had to ship it to me at the hostel that we were staying at. Right. So, and like, it may not have, it could have arrived before I left or after I left, so, but I was luckily we got it a couple days later, and then I was able to help fund some of the trip, and then
very lucky. Yeah. Carlos says greetings from Peru. Greetings, Carlos. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Carlos.
Hope you're doing well. Frame says, have you noticed that some comics, when they recorded or when they're colored, they don't look okay instead of being black and white? Especially those with lots of details and rendering. Yeah, that's you get a bad colorist on a book, and you can override.
Yeah, that's over rendering.
Great detail.
And the age too. We were on the what was it? The Comics by Night show. Which are all on the. You can check out the archives of that. We went over all of the Watchmen books, and we're doing the annotated version of the Watchmen, looking through it, and the color back in the day, they just didn't have the ability to use the modern colors, and you can, like, honestly, the black and white version is way better than the, not to say the colorist isn't great, but you get
there's definitely a big difference between the two. And there's a campaign running right now on funmycomics.com called Bronze Star that's got artwork by Pat Broderick on it. And and Broderick's been around for years, and has done a lot of great stuff. Lords of the Ultra Realm was one of my favorite fantasy titles that DC did way back when that he did the work on. But it's a Western story, and you can definitely see a huge artistic difference, and the coloring on that book is great. I mean, it's phenomenal, but you can tell that Broderick was really taking his time doing the artwork and did a lot of great line shading on it. And so you scroll down on the campaign, you see some of the color pages, and you see some of the black and white pages. And when I first saw the black and white pages, which is what I got shown first, I'm sitting there going, who is that? That's amazing. That's crazy. Look at that. Somebody really took a lot of time in doing all of this detail, and you see it in color, and there's definitely a difference there. So I'm looking forward to them offering a black and white artisan hardback version of that book, just to have that that line work nice and preserved.
That'd be
It's
pretty
gonna
cool.
be a nice product. He's got, I think it's 8,300 already.
Oh
And
wow,
he
that's really good.
he just popped it up yesterday.
Yeah, I was looking at some of that stuff on the website. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I still look. I got like a bunch of other stuff on my list though to get. Like I still want to get the Fool at some point. Perfect 10 just did a relaunch for Fun My Comic. Like I'm like I definitely gotta get one of those.
Secondary campaign. Yeah, Dave does great stuff.
But it's on a continuous thing.
Genuine Comics. Yeah.
Or not. I mean
I got my
the
copy of The Fool coming.
Yeah, you do, and a picture. Yeah.
Yep.
Haven't forgotten.
I was the first one to back.
You were.
what's it called? It's on a continuous campaign on Fun My Comic for the that one book you were just talking about. So it's
which one? What?
The Western.
Oh yeah, Bronze Star. Yes.
Your Bronze Star.
Yep, that's the name of it.
Eventually pick it up if I.
Mike Barron did the writing on it, and Broderick did the artwork on it.
Oh, Barron did the writing.
Yeah. So there's quality there. So it's going to be a great product. I can't wait to see it.
He did win an Eisner, so
yeah, I will be buying into that campaign. My wife is a huge Badger fan. Anything Badger, she always liked that character. I was always attracted to it.
So I did a quick bit of research into I mean like a Google search on Arrow Comics. You guys started out doing black and white stuff, didn't you?
Oh yeah, for years. Yeah, we started back in '85. So actually, a little before that, Ralph and Stu was doing a fanzine called Fantastic Fanzine. Turtles comes out, and everybody wants to do black and white comics. So that's what they did.
Yeah, basically.
And then
it's like Cerebus was already around for a few years and stuff. Then Turtles come out.
Yeah, I had a little comic shop up here in Flint. Cerebus #6 was the first Cerebus that I sold. From there, I sold the first Fantasy Quarterly, which had the first ElfQuest story, or the first ElfQuest chapter in it, I should say. Mm-hmm. That was great. Misprinted cover, just phenomenal. You're sitting there looking at this newsprint book and going, "What's this?" And you open it up, you go, "Oh, this is cool." Okay. And you had to sit there and read it.
I had the first ElfQuest comic signed by the Peonies.
There you go. Yeah.
I ended up giving it to a friend of mine as a gift because he was a much bigger ElfQuest fan than I was. But I was an ElfQuest fan, don't get me wrong. Pretty much every girl reading comics was an ElfQuest fan. But he was far more than I was. So I was like, this belongs to you. this is more for you.
It wasn't just women. A lot of people were ElfQuest, or are still ElfQuest fans. So
yeah, I'm just saying, if you're growing up and you're reading comics and you're female, it's like you read ElfQuest. It was just like in the club that every woman reader had ElfQuest. It's like, oh, you're a woman in comics. It's like, oh, so here's your ElfQuest. You're now part of the club.
Yeah. ElfQuest, Sandman, and Star Trek. Those are the big three, I think.
The oldest comic I have.
That's what the wife was into. Then Buffy, a lot of Buffy, anything Buffy.
The oldest comic I have is it's definitely not ElfQuest, but it's a Iron Man from 1987.
That's the oldest comic you have?
I think so. And then there was a...
You must be incredibly young.
Randy, we're old.
Well, I didn't actually start collecting them until later on in life when I actually had the means to do so.
I think my oldest is a Tales from the Crypt. It's the one when it's either was it the Haunting one? It's either that or I'm pretty sure it's Tales from the Crypt. It's one of the ones from the Wortham book, and it has the woman's head in the hand of the axe.
Yeah.
I think that's Tales from the Crypt. I can't remember the number.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yep.
That's the oldest comic I have. It's a really beat up copy, but
to see EC comics out, especially raw, especially in the wild, are getting more and more rare every year. And the paper show I was at yesterday, there was a guy there with a run of Panics, that Panic comic and magazine that EC did, and there was I think it was a what is it? Battlefront, not Battlefront. Two-Fisted Tales. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, it's
There was a
classic.
Two-Fisted Tales there, and a one of the Tales of the Crypt. They didn't have a price on it, and I didn't want to ask because I didn't want to have the dealer look at my face as I winced and went, it's a little expensive. But he had a couple of Sally Forths there that he was asking. That's a Wally Wood property that he did after EC.
I was going to say,
I was
that's his own property.
incredibly tempted on. Very adult property.
Yep.
Something we probably couldn't show on here without a lot of little sticky notes covering the naughty bits.
Yeah.
So unfortunately I didn't get into collecting comics until my late 20s. I never really had the means. My parents never really got them for me. They get like one or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it'd be like every several months they'd be like, oh, can I get, this comic? And then they would, my dad read Archie. So, the Archie's Digest stuff and Jughead and all that stuff. So there's a bunch of those floating around the house, but he wasn't ever really interested in anything else. And I'd be like, oh, that looks kind of neat. And then, sometimes I get a comic when I was younger, but most of the time I didn't have them at all when I was a kid. And only in my 20s did I start to get into them when I could actually afford, to grab them myself. And, that was like late 20s though. I mean, I'm like, late 30s now. So it's not that I'm young compared to some folks, but
well, you're younger than us.
Younger than you guys.
I think I'm young compared to Randy, so I don't really think Randy's that much older than me. So
fair notes. I'm still 28. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what my mother said. She's 29 and sticking to it.
There you are. Those are the ones that live the longest.
I was thinking I usually stick with 26 because that way I can get decent car rentals.
There you are. Yeah, just stay above that insurance rate.
Female, so I get I got better rentals anyway. But still, because there's no gender discrimination in it whatsoever.
General standards on the Comic Code, Part B, Section 1 says no comic magazine shall use the word horror or terror on its title. All scenes of horror. Part 2 says all scenes of horror, excessive bloodshed, gory or gruesome crimes, depravity, lust, sadism, masochism shall not be portrayed. All lurid, unsavory, gruesome illustrations shall be eliminated. Part 4 says inclusion of stories dealing with evil shall be used or shall be published only where the intent is to illustrate a moral issue. And in no case shall evil be presented alluringly, nor so as to inure the sensibilities of the readers. 5, scenes dealing with or instruments associated with walking dead, torture, vampires and vampirism, ghouls, cannibalism, and werewolfism are prohibited.
This is literally the anti-EC code is what they should have called it, because that is one of the reasons it was written. EC was kicking ass.
Well, EC was selling millions of copies, but the real big worry at this point was Crime Does Not Pay, which was a really big comic that you never hear anything.
No, you never hear about that
anymore. But they were clearing 4 million a month. I mean, 4 million copies on the newsstands and out a month. And
nobody talks about that one.
It was causing a lot of people. And that really the start of all of the true crime stuff that you see on television and the investigative channels and all of that were all in this comic. They would use and sometimes over sensationalize, of course, criminal crime stories. Real crime stories. A lot of times they would boast that they were true crime stories, so you could pick up a book and learn about all of everything that John Dillinger ever did, every bank he ever held up and every movement he ever did and how he, how he was caught and persecuted or not persecuted, but prosecuted. All Al Capone and Bonnie and Clyde, all of that. And you had a lot of graphic depictions of violence in those books, but they weren't necessarily meant or aimed at kids. So is that the first Iron Man you've ever had?
No, the first one, but it's the oldest one that I have. I found it in a bin somewhere in a barn. Basically.
Keep digging.
Yeah, I'm sure. But
I just picked up a copy of Marvel's Collector's Item Classics yesterday for a couple bucks. It's a good reading copy. It's all reprint stories. It's one of the first Doctor Doom stories, and it's also got the first Hawkeye appearance in Tales of Suspense, an Iron Man story.
I
He fights Iron
really
Man as a criminal.
Really like Doctor Doom as a character, and like, as you know, I said earlier, name my cat after him.
Right. Doom is a character that's really underused and that has so much potential.
Oh yeah,
that he would have made. They did do his own little series there for a minute that Wally Wood did about 5 or 6 episodes for. I think it ran in Amazing Adventures early on because of his mixture between being a king and really an anti-hero and having that magic angle as well as the technology mixed in. They could have done a lot with that character.
One of the reasons I think it didn't really work out is he had to lose at the end of everyone because he was still considered a villain, and the code had a thing in there that villains had to lose every time when they're presented. It's one of the reasons why the Joker comic didn't go anywhere, because that was actually pretty good for the time, and it just didn't work because it's like, oh well, he gets beat up at the end of every one of them, can't do anything, so you didn't have these ongoing story arcs with it. Dark Horse apparently has the right to Crime Doesn't Pay.
A lot of that stuff's in public domain already. I've got one of their reprint books, though. It's
that
really
would make
great.
sense given the time and the fact everything basically wouldn't be protected copyright. So,
well, a lot of that stuff they let lapse.
Yeah, exactly.
So they just didn't care, and they couldn't see making any money out of it, especially at the time. So they just let it go.
I was trying to find out if that's where one of the Ed Gein stories was in, but I can't find it. So
I am not sure. I'm not sure about that timeline at all.
Yeah, because I know Robert Bloch had done the book Psycho, which was inspired by Gein. So, and then obviously you got the movie Psycho later.
Right. Critical says I subscribed to CBG for years when Don and Maggie ran it. Yeah, I was on there a little before that. Hand pink waving. Oh, that's it.
Oh, he's talking about the cat.
The cat.
Yep.
Avast ye sagacious scallywags. Tank Ferret, thanks for being here today. Appreciate you very much. I love cats.
Yeah, I got 2 of the little bastards, so yeah, I love them.
I'm still heartbroken over the fact we had to put ours down a couple weeks ago. So
that sucks.
I'm still catching myself shutting doors in order to try to keep him from, going into the bedroom or scratching at the door at night. It's just, it's pretty sad. But when we picked him up, we were going to call him Yeti because he was so fuzzy and black, little fuzzball kitten, almost like a tribble. And then we caught him running under all of our furniture and coming out with dust bunnies. He just wiggle underneath like the microwave stand and all that. So we ended up calling him Swiffer.
Nice.
Yeah. 15 years we had him.
Yeah, that's a good life for a cat.
Yeah,
that's definitely my first cat that I owned had 17 years, I think, and then she
same mine.
Yeah,
it's like it's a family member at that point. You really feel it right in the.
Oh yeah,
it sucks.
Yep.
It
is. It's like losing a member of your family. Whiskey in the Jar says Chad Perkins is a pickle man. We all know that.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the 4S Club, whatever that is.
We'll go with it.
Let us know, Tank.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
I cannot get through an ID verified security checkpoint without being searced at random.
I had that problem for years because I used to fly alone and I wouldn't really bring a lot. And it was like every time I got randomly searched, I had to go into the special bubble thing and everything. And it's just like, this is random. This is 6 years in a row I've had this happen when I've flown to this.
I had that happen to me all the way to LA and all the way back. I flew into LA because we drove down from LA to San Diego for the San Diego Con. And then drove back up because Bernie was in Laurel Canyon. Bernie Wrightson was in Laurel Canyon at the time. We drop him off on the way back,
Oh, that's cool.
and then take a flight out of LAX. But I blame the nose. It's what I blamed it for. They're just stopping me because I look like I'm big. And I look mean. So.
That's definitely it, Randy. Big and you look mean. That's definitely.
And the nose.
The
big nose.
Nose.
The nose.
What I got posted there on the screen is the second oldest comic, or probably one of the two that I own, which is the Amazing Spider-Man Double Trouble. I've never actually opened it.
Well, don't worry, it's not going to hurt you.
I know.
Yep.
I just sometimes I just don't open
them.
Tank says Alley Cat has always been a comic book force multiplier.
Thank you. That sounds like a compliment, so I'm going to go with it. So thank you.
You people in your intact collections, go on. My collection isn't intact. I'm telling you.
I actually sold the majority of my collection years ago because I just couldn't move it anymore.
It's a good question, Tank. Where is everyone at? This is a great show. Come on in, folks. Hit that like button. Hit that love button. We're always archived. They're starting to know we're always archived over on Indie Comics Network. So we get a lot more views after we're off the air than we do when we're on. But when you're on, you can be part of the conversation. Phone.
Just going through some of these comics here to see some of the older gems that I have.
I hope they cop a good feel when I head to New York at the end of the summer to see Daphne. Oh, here we are.
Yeah, it's unlikely, but hey, it always could be fun. So
stopped at the airport. Try being detained in Baghdad, Iraq. Not funny.
Hey, Glenn, you win.
Yeah, you win, Glenn.
You win. You win the I've been detained in horrible places.
Yeah. My longest wait was 45 minutes.
To compete with that. So.
Yeah, I got held up 45 minutes at the Canadian border. Coming back from a show in Albany, I had Jason Moore and Kirk Jarvinen was with me, and the two of them had just done the artwork for a and I had it was Leatherface property.
No, something Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes, that's it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I brain farted there for a second. They went and took with them as props for the show a chainsaw that they had mucked up with red paint and a bunch of deer bones, as well as a red and white checkered tablecloth that they put on their table.
I could see that causing a little bit of an issue.
We gotta check it.
We got stopped at the border because it was three guys traveling apparently across the
It's three guys traveling with murder weapons.
We told us sit in a room for 45 minutes until a border officer come out and looked at us and went, "What line of work are you in?" Well, we took him back out, showed him the book, and I was just like, just go, waved us off.
Another one.
It was scary there for a little while though.
Yeah, but it's not being detained in Baghdad scary.
No, that definitely doesn't compare to that.
You're not going to disappear into some,
You're thrown into a room with people yelling at you in strange languages that you don't understand. Yeah, that would be a problem.
That's another one of the spectacular Spider-Man, Night of the Living Dead. Another book I haven't read, but it's in my collection. This one's unfortunately damaged as well. There's a bit of scuffing at the top.
That's one of the Inferno crossovers, yeah.
It's not going to hurt you to read it.
I know. I know.
All right. I just picked up a bunch of reading copies yesterday. I got a copy of Marvel Western.
Oh, Rawhide Kid.
It's got a Rawhide Kid cult and a two-gun kid story in it.
Nice.
With a great John Severin cover. I'm trying to blow myself up here. Poof. There we are. The great John Severin cover. All the other guys, a couple of the guys inside I'd never heard of, but that's okay. Just go through and look at the art anyway. It's all good. Plus, I picked up a Lois Lane book, a giant book I hadn't read. That's got 3 Kurt Schaffenberger stories in it and a Kurt Swan story in it. Never go wrong with Kurt Swan.
I'm glad you showed that one there because I'm going to take a look later at the video and then take a screenshot because there's what was it? Rob Willis. He recommended a book to me about called Frame Perspective, and some of the perspective shots in the book that is explaining how to do for drawing comics or sequential art. They have a shot that's similar to that one in the thing. So it's good to see the two bodies on top of each other and the different way and angles that they have, because in the book it's just a person on their back with their arms straight, but in this one you got Superman with his arms out and you got Lois Lane there on top. So it's like that's going to be extremely useful to reference to the book to study how that all is put together.
Yeah,
Just got lucky, I guess.
You know, Kurt Schaffenberger, you can never go wrong on either. And I picked up a really beat up copy. It was cheap, so I was just going to read it anyway. Of Captain Midnight from Fawcett. I don't have a whole lot of Fawcett books. I did pass up on a couple of EC, quite a few EC comics that I'm regretting.
I just shared out my screen that has one of my crown jewels in it.
At least not asking for the price of it. There you are. Yep.
Avengers 4, first Captain America Silver Age.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, that's that is a very beat up copy. It doesn't look it, but the cover's hanging out by like a thread. It basically doesn't come out of the package. So
some of those are the best though. Just to sit there and look through it and read it, and it's that old feel.
I have a copy of it.
Yeah, that's true too.
All I have to say is I have a copy of it. Yeah, it's a beater. I don't care. I still, when I bought that, I think I still paid like around $100 for it.
Yeah,
and it was beaten to hell. I don't care. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's like the Batman book I bought. As soon as I saw it, it's like, this is mine. I told the retailer, I says, I'm not even going to try to knock you down on the price on it. I'm just going to buy it for the price you have there. And he's like, well, it could be okay. I explained to him the story about it. He says, oh, you're buying this for emotional value. I understand now.
This is one of my other Tales from the Crypt is in there. This is stuff from my... Yeah, this is my signed Neil Adams first appearance of Havoc.
There you go.
Like the quintessential Green Lantern, Green Arrow comic. The Avengers in there again. Swamp Thing 1, then next to it, The House of Secrets. Yes. Both of those are signed by Wrightson.
I sold that book in my shop before I knew what it was. And the guy who come in and bought it knew what it was. And I had too low of a price on it. And,
that sucks.
Yeah, it does. But you live and learn. Yeah. So in that giant size X-Men #1, I've had 2 copies of it because I had to buy a second one because the first one was literally in pieces.
Yeah, I had one that fell apart on me.
And my current one is also now in pieces too. But I was so mad. I think I've told this a number of times on the shows. I actually had to pay $8 for the thing, and I was mad. Really, I had to have it, but it was $8, and I'm like, oh man, this, grumble, but I paid it.
Let's see.
Now it's what $10,000 book in good shape.
Yeah. That's Turtles 1 right there.
It's what?
Turtles 1.
Oh, in front, dead front.
Yep.
Yeah, the reflection on it's a little hard.
Yeah, I have a better shot of it in a different picture. It's a Days of Future Past Part 1, first Black Costume, first Ghost Rider. That's first Dark Side up in the back, and the Jimmy Olsen. One of my early Tales from the Crypt, not the one I was talking about earlier, but that is again in that time frame. It's one of the 2 or 3 issues of Tales from the Crypt that I've had of the actual Tales from the Crypt. Defenders 1. Let's see.
Yeah, I had that book too. I had a whole run. I used to be a big Defenders nut. Just used to love that team. So every time they'd all get together begrudgingly, they'd fight some big foe, and then they'd all split up, vowing never to get together again.
Yep.
And then the following issue, they all got together.
They all got back together again. Oh, here we go. Okay,
that was a blast.
Good run of stuff where it can kind of shift between things.
Pull that up. Yeah, Watchmen 1. Yeah.
Yeah, Watchmen 1.
Swamp Thing.
Yep, those are the first appearances of John Constantine, or basically the first full appearance and the first appearance.
Yeah.
That Superman comic isn't like crazy valuable, but signed by Mike Turner.
There you go.
So it's
Yeah.
important to me. The Mike Zeck Captain
understandable.
America Annual number 8.
Yep.
That Iron Man right there, first appearance of Thanos.
Yes.
It's also first appearance of Drax the Destroyer.
That's Starlin too in that, right?
Yeah,
I'm
Starlin.
pretty sure it is, yeah.
Yep, it's one of the. It's a Starlin comic. I actually have it signed by Starlin. I didn't get signed at the show recently because I had it signed before by him. Oh, I got the Tales from the Crypt in there again.
Yes, you do.
Oops. Yeah, and let's see. I put this in here so you had it. The first appearance of Ghost Rider from the 70s and the first issue of Ghost Rider.
Marvel Spotlight. Yeah.
Yep. Then we
remember
have
that well.
That's the second Silver Age appearance of the Penguin.
Really? Okay, cool. Yeah. That's
Coyote
back when they really didn't do a lot of reoccurring Rogues Gallery work.
Nope.
So
And the Coyote up there is the first Todd McFarlane artwork.
okay.
And the Next Men is the first Hellboy.
Okay. Sweet.
Let's see. I can go further on this, I think. Oh, here's my Fantastic Four stuff and Green Lantern things. As we got the 76 and a bunch of other stuff. We got the drug issues. I think that's an early John Stewart. It's not the first appearance of John Stewart at the top, but that is an early John Stewart appearance, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right. The first one's got the that
He's on
exchange.
the cover, so
it's got a 3-panel cover that has a black guy asking what Hal Jordan ever. You done a lot for the Orange Men and for the Purple Men. What have you done for the Black Man?
That's this one. That is the 76. That's the first one on the top left. That's that one.
Okay.
That's the one where that panel's in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is
I thought that was a cover.
It's possibly the most famous page in comics for the longest time was that panel. It was reprinted in so many things.
Wonderfully poignant question. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got, let's see, my Hulk Thing fight collection. I don't have the first Hulk Thing fight here, but these are all early Hulk Thing fights.
Avengers is what, number 10? It's first Swordsman?
Yep. Avengers number 10's first Swordsman. And then we have first Galactus and basically the Galactus series.
The Galactus trilogy, as they call it.
Yep. And all the stuff here is Silver Surfer related, why I have it out here. That this Fantastic Four down at the bottom, this is part of the Hulk versus everyone fight, I believe. Because it has the Avengers and the Fantastic Four fighting, and I believe the Hulk was fighting in that one too.
The cover on the lower left is so iconic that the surfer flying solid. It's like there's so much detail here. How are we going to color it? Boom, red.
Yep, just red in the back, and there we go. Done.
Just made it all pop. And they learned that lesson for that Galactus cover is the same thing too.
Yeah.
How are we going to make this pop out on the newsstand? Boom, big red. There we are.
Let's see, more Fantastic Four stuff. This is all Surfer stuff. And then I have the early appearances of Venom. First Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. First appearance of Venom. Again, I got the Secret Wars issue in there again. First Miller on Daredevil. First Elektra. Death of Elektra. Wolverine miniseries. I have the Avengers 4 in there.
That's a hell of a collection.
This is nothing. This is a sampling.
How much is I have that one at the middle rack there.
The what?
Wolverine.
Oh, the Wolverine one?
Yeah.
Where he's pointing?
Yeah.
Oh.
I have no idea where it is. But it's somewhere in my collection.
So you have a comic that's about older than 87 then, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's like a 83, 84?
Yeah.
I mean, it's after Daredevil, but before he did Ronin.
Yep.
So
my version's probably scuffed up because, it's not in great condition. But how much is you think one of those in a new condition worth?
I'm
so terrible on values anymore.
I don't know how much those are worth. I mean,
fluctuate so much.
The basis of the second Wolverine solo movie was the miniseries, very loosely. Because it had Silver Samurai in it. It had the basic plot, so it might have jumped in value at the time, but I honestly don't know what the value of it would be. I mean, My Hulk 181 skyrocketed after the X-Men came out.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gone down since. My friend, who I often refer to as my dealer, who basically get all my comics through and everything, he just had a Hulk 181 graded, and it came back as a 9.6.
Oh, good for him.
And
holy crap, that's huge money.
He was just like, I don't know what to do with it, because it's literally a kiss of death, because it's out of the price range of every person he has that buys from him, because it's easily a $30,000 book now. So he's just like, yeah, it's awesome. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to like try to auction it through Heritage Auctions? Like, I'll never get the value. So
that would be the legitimate choice, but I would wait until Jackman or Wolverine is coming back into the DCU.
Oh, the Marvel U, yeah, the Marvel.
Yeah, until the next movie, because things always run in waves with those movies. That's if he wants to move it. I wouldn't want to move it if I didn't have to.
He's a dealer, so he'll want to move it eventually, but it's not.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can. Anything else.
The money is out there. He's just got to find it, and you can't do something like that over eBay. You just don't.
It could be a reprint.
Auctioning it is his best bet at this point.
Okay, so got the Defenders back in there. X-Men 94 slabbed. Then I have X-Men versus Namor, which is very early issue. I don't have my X-Men 1 out here on this one, which is too bad, because I have a really nice copy of X-Men 1.
Cool.
First Eunice, so basically Eunice.
Eunice the Untouchable.
Yeah, Eunice the Untouchable. Yeah. Then we get like the early Sentinels are in here. Early Juggernaut. I think I got the first appearance of the Juggernaut. If it's not, it's like the second. Because these are both early Juggernaut right here. Over on the far
maybe
right.
Yeah, I see him. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd have to double check it, because I got the early Sentinel stuff and things, so I'm pretty sure I have first Juggernaut. Death of Thunderbird. Got the giant size in there of that. And I have the Steranko X-Men cover with the first appearance of Polaris.
There you go.
It's not signed by Steranko at the point, because I hadn't brought it to him to be signed yet, but I do have that signed now by Steranko. So that's some of my really cool X-Men stuff.
And like I said, if you ever get a chance, you need to do a dinner with Steranko. It was at a Great Lakes Con once, and everybody went out to dinner, and they were asking the next day, everybody, all the guests at the show, did you do dinner with Steranko last night? It was a big table. He says there were a lot of people there. It was 4 hours.
Oh, this does some of the more modern stuff in it.
Because you get Jim talking about anything, and he's got stories.
He's good story.
It's great to listen to.
I sat by him for like a couple of hours at a con.
Listening
to him was amazing.
Yep. I took a picture of him at Great Lakes Con. I was going to put a meme up on Facebook. It says, you can be cool, but you'll never be Steranko cool.
That's true. That's very true. Let's see. We got First Phoenix up there. We got X-Men versus X-Men. The Brothers Battle, and the other one. First John Byrne is up there in the corner. First Kitty Pryde. First Dazzler. The infamous Dark Phoenix cover where she's breaking everything.
Yeah.
Death of Phoenix. Days of Future Past and Mind Out of Time. Trial of Magneto. The War for Leadership. Let's see. First Jim Lee X-Men. Then I got 2 copies of First Gambit, which I think I had 3 of them at one point.
So I can't find that book. I imagine they might have sold it, or it's been tossed out.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Oh well, these things happen.
Where
the
did we
good
drop
news
off
is they
here?
got it for like 50 cents, most likely, because I got them all in the flea market, right? So every book I've pretty much almost
comics.
Oh, Glenn, you have original artwork of
I have some Don Perlin Defenders original art here somewhere. Yeah,
that's
Glenn,
and I got one of those on my page there, or on this camera, one of those Spider-Man torments, the Death of Arknight, part 4 or 5.
Just coming back to make sure I hit that like. I don't see it here on my list, but that doesn't mean you didn't hit it. Later, folks. Yard work calls. Tank Ferret. Sorry to hear.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear you're getting kidnapped by that. Oh, you have early Spider-Man, Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man.
Good luck on your tan. Yeah. Tank Ferret. Yeah.
Was that
McFarlane
issue?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, 5 and 4.
Yeah.
Not 5, just the 4.
Oh, you don't have the 5 there because I see the picture of 5.
It's not my. Those are just images of the.
Oh, okay, all right.
I pulled offline.
Ah.
Oh, what is it? Here we go. McFarlane Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, McFarlane stuff in general, because we got the
Did
was it
McFarlane
Neil
draw
Adams
that
top?
Shadow Batman?
Yep, Shadow Batman and Ra's al Ghul.
I'll have to go back and look at that. Yeah. I've got that.
And then
Got that.
Batman Year 2, then the Platinum issue of Spider-Man 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then the fight for the symbiote suit, first Todd McFarlane again, and a sampling of McFarlane's Spider-Man stuff.
There you are.
So when I was, I guess younger when I first get into comics, so I get all my comics as I used to actually sell them, but I didn't have a store or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd just be doing street side, completely illegally, right? Every once in a while, a cop would come by and bother me or whoever, city official, and I'd just be like, "What's all the comics?" And I'd just be like, I'd have a guitar with me, and I'd be like, they'd be in my guitar case, right? Because I could only carry so many at a time. And the cop would bother me, and it's like, "What's all the comics? You selling comics?" And I'm like, "No, I just like comics." And then be like, "Okay," and then just go away. And the next person would come, "Hey, how much for the comic?" I'd be like, $5. Right, and I get them for 50 cents, $1 at this flea market, and I'd resell them in a little while, and that was helping me pay my rent along with playing music for a bit.
Cool.
Yeah. Roadside comic store.
And this is mostly McFarlane Spider-Man stuff.
So that's probably where that one Wolverine went.
Probably.
Yeah. Some guy's like, I'll take that. But then again, I only paid 50 cents for it. So I probably made like a couple bucks off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly the worst story in the universe.
Yeah.
That or it's in the bin.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I come out of that paper show thinking is, man, I've really got to get a bunch of bags and boards.
Yeah. I know that.
I got long boxes of stuff that need to be wrapped really bad.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna go there. So yeah, we got a bunch of McFarlane Spider-Man stuff here, but the bottom row is kind of cool stuff. Not the first appearance of Carnage, which a lot of people would probably be like, "Oh, first appearance of Carnage." I'm like, whatever. Carnage is an interesting character, but he's not Venom as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
The last 4 ones at the bottom, those are all Frank Miller Spider-Man.
Oh,
and they predate his run on Daredevil.
Yeah.
So the first Frank Miller Daredevil is actually there. That Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man on the far right, bottom far right. It's like right around there.
Another red cover.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think the one Spider-Man with Doc Ock on it, that come out after he was doing, and the Doctor Strange one were after he was doing Daredevil.
Yeah, those are amazing, I believe.
Yeah.
I think both of those are amazing annuals. Well, I
know I really didn't notice. Yeah, didn't notice Miller until the his run on Daredevil, and then I know I've got those issues. Yeah.
Is it? And then I got my Tales from the Crypt again. First Lobo. There we got some Space Ghost and Johnny Quest classics.
Oh, see, I would love to have. I don't have that Johnny Quest book.
Well, if I dig it up, I'll send it to you.
I'll have to put it on my my bucket list there. There's not a whole lot of books that I just go out and have to look for and find, like that giant size Batman. But that's one I would definitely jump at a show if I saw it.
It's weird. I don't have my Surfer 1 in this picture, but I have all my other Surfers, which is weird.
The Space Ghost one is a good one. That's a fun.
Oh,
one.
that's a fun one. That's a really fun one.
Then Keith Giffen on Omega Men. That's first Lobo. Yeah. Great set of Buscema Silver Surfers there.
Oh, I love the Buscema Silver Surfer. Which I'm
fantastic.
I don't know where my I don't know why I don't have the number 1 in there, because I have a 1. Actually, I had 2 1s. One was a much better copy than the other one. I have pictures of all my brother's G.I. Joe stuff. Guess I could brag about that. When I mean his G.I. Joe stuff, this is when we were roommates. But just to give you an idea of my brother's G.I. Joe collection.
Cool.
Damn.
Look at that. That's awesome.
So like some of the biggest play sets they ever made for G.I. Joe, like got that spaceship one in the back. That thing is freaking huge, but nothing compares to that aircraft carrier. That thing is bigger than me, and I'm like 6 feet tall. So,
is that plastic? Or?
It's mostly plastic, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It surprisingly disassembles into a fairly easy to move thing because it's not like one solid. It's like it has like a superstructure below it. It's the best way I could describe it.
Snaps apart.
Yeah, it basically breaks apart. But yeah, that's. I don't know. I didn't play with toys as a kid, so I don't really know.
It's like a transformer. All you got to do is bend it in the right shape, and you'll have a giant robot.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, it's
a lot of things can do that if you bend them in the right shape.
Yeah.
I got more pictures of it too.
It's another comic I got there. Probably not worth anything, but the New Warriors annual. I think it's probably like 60 cents, maybe. But then again, I think I paid 50 cents for it. So we're going up.
Part of the 90s weird shit that they were doing, where everybody basically got strange costumes and stuff.
Yeah, Psionics Takeover.
Yep.
The New Warriors.
Most of the other comics I have aren't that really interesting. They're more like, modern stuff, like Civil War and past. I have most of the Civil War collection for when Marvel did that. This other one here is actually kind of cool. I'm going to pull it up.
Trying to find.
I have a copy of Power Comics right here.
Like how we're supposed to do a show about talking about ourselves, so we just end up talking about our.
Oh, we're tooting.
There we are. Yeah, we're still tooting our own horn. Here's a Power Comics.
Awesome.
Right there. That's one of the earliest Bill Messner Loebs, and Dave Sim stories are in there. Remember that when I was a kid?
This is the way I definitely knew Rocket was mine.
Yep, that's a cute cat.
Cool.
Rocket is a kitten, being cute. Trying to find.
Glad I didn't sell this book, but it's not worth that much. But it's still a cool looking book.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I needed to get a bunch of bags and boards because I've got stuff here that I've bought off the stands and never got rid of. So Shazam #1, and used to retail comics for a long time. I should have set up a collection then, but got a bunch of Silver Age stuff back during that period that I ended up selling later, early Flashes, that kind of stuff.
Ooh.
It's really good. I got almost a whole run, I think, of Luke Cage and Shang-Chi's.
Damn.
I have to organize my my Iron Fist stuff. Because I have most of a run of that too. Of Iron Fist.
I got to go through my stuff. I had a bunch of underground and alternative stuff that nobody's seen in years. So I'm going through at that paper show and I'm seeing old Zap comics and stuff and going, wow, got that too. If we really wanted to boast, I'd go in and dig out I got a couple of Zap comics that I had Crumb sign.
Oh, here's something fun.
Unfortunately, he signed it on the inside on the first page. So it's something I'll never slab. But
okay, so if anybody plays Magic the Gathering.
Yep, or I did.
There we are.
That's 2 sets of the Power 9, all beta.
Oh, okay.
Which are the most expensive cards in Magic the Gathering. I tried to sell them. Nobody's buying them because nobody has the money for them.
Yeah. You'd almost have to auction those off too at this point.
There's a YouTuber called some Alpha Investments. Are you familiar with him?
No, not familiar with him.
Send him a message. Maybe they'll take him off your hands.
I'll think
There's
about it.
One of my other favorite covers I have. I'm glad I didn't sell this just because I like the book. Like I've read it a couple times. It is worth something. It's worth $6 as opposed to 50 cents.
That's why you should be hanging on to your comics, because you like to read them. You find
I
some
like to read
entertainment value and enjoyment out of having them. So
I got
That's
a
mostly
story
what I-
about this.
Well, actually, what I do is I mostly just hang them up on my wall, right? Like for most of my comics, they just they stay in the bag. A tack goes at the top of the thing, and that's generally how they get damaged. And that one book that's worth $20 with the blank cover is why it's not worth $20 anymore, because it's got tacked to the or up with the bag and the board on the wall, and they're generally on the wall. And I just take them down, read them when I want to, and put them back up. And I like looking at the covers. Some of them I haven't read because I just keep them in that state. But I gotta bag and board a bunch of them because when I move, they all got put in a box. So
gotta be careful.
Yeah, this one I like though.
I got I've got at least 6 long boxes. The wife's probably got 50. But all of hers are at least bagged. So
with Enough Said, which is pretty obvious in the cover, the Enough Said series is one of the things that you're reading. It has no text at all. It's just art.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And that's one of the reasons
that all comes from G.I. Joe, which predates a little bit before that. Cerebus did it before that too. But the G.I. Joe comic was the one that really kind of pushed that idea. It was the first appearance of Storm Shadow as G.I. Joe number 21. It had no dialogue in it.
What's interesting about this book is that it's actually from I can't say written, but drawn from the perspective of Loki when he's in Thor. Odin banishes him to the other realm or whatever, right? And the whole premise of the book is that Loki he's in there and he's remembering anything, but he can't like hear words. He's remembering his like past, like of the event of him being in the thing, and he can't hear anything. There's no sound in that realm, including his mind, his memories. So it's like, he's in there, he's being punished at the end. There's like he's got a giant snake coiled around him, and he's suffering because Odin threw him into the whatever realm. I can't remember the name of the realm. It's not in the book, but if you're a Thor fan, but I really liked it. Yeah. So there was a really good visual storytelling device and how they put it all together, and it works really, really quite well at the book, which is why one is my favorite books, and I've taken a look at it often. Plus, the art is beautiful in the book itself. If you've never had it.
That was also right around the anniversary of G.I. Joe 21 is when they did the Enough Said thing. Every book that like month or whatnot, there was no dialogue in any of them. That was the whole Enough Said. And it was all on an anniversary of G.I. Joe 21.
There's a classic Steranko story where one of the Nick Furies has a number of pages that don't have any dialogue on them.
Nick Fury number 1.
They didn't want to pay him to write.
Yeah, he had words about that.
Yeah, it said he ended up hanging somebody out the window, I think.
Yeah,
threatening to.
Threatening to. I think it's more likely, but yeah.
Glenn wants to make sure we see this.
Ooh.
It's a collection of the Hatch art.
All the Hatch art.
Oh, damn.
Very sweet. Glenn, where are you? Because I wanted to listen to you to your own horn because, dear God, man, you have awesome stories. I mean,
that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode.
The places you have been. Like, I just wanted to hear about like Easter Island and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Glenn is unfortunately sick today at home with the COVID.
We hope he gets better soon.
Oh God, I hope you get better. I had that. It's not fun. I gave it a 0 review on Yelp.
Tell me about it.
Wanted to speak with the manager.
It can be dangerous, but but it has mutated a whole bunch at this point, so it's probably not as bad as it was.
Gotta be careful anymore. Be careful.
Well, I mean, you still want to be. I mean, me getting it's very, very bad with my already other health issues, but it's still bad. I mean,
I was incredibly fortunate to wake up off the respirator twice after they told me I had died. So,
yeah,
if it wasn't for Hadnall, I don't think I'd be here today. From the way the doctors were talking, they gave me a shot of Hadnall both times, and I come back. So, as a last ditch effort. From the way impression I get, I didn't realize how that was until I started doing research. It's like, well, I'm back, and all this, and then come to find out to pop back once is 97.15 against. You have to do it twice is like unbelievably astronomical. So
Yeah, it's
so that's
Randy's here today
crazy.
and still making comics, still producing comics,
still talking comics. Come on,
still
folks.
talking comics.
But this right here, that's a screen-used lightsaber from The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, sweet.
Damn.
I didn't quite know what we were looking at first time you popped that up, but that's
That
amazing.
is Darth Vader's lightsaber from The Empire Strikes Back.
Like the actual, like
the actual lightsaber. It's one of the
how many
that
six?
were on
Okay.
the belt. That could have been on the belt. That one I know was, because if you look at it closely up near the ring up here, you can see the wear mark of where it clipped to the belt and how it wore on the
How do you come across one of those?
George Lucas gave it to me.
And just gave it to you?
There's a bit more to the story than that, but that's effectively what it was.
Okay, since we're tooting, Allison, you might as well, finish that.
Hey, random stranger, here's a lightsaber. It was like, no, that doesn't happen.
I interviewed.
Hey, kid, want a lightsaber? Here you go.
I interviewed with Lucas Arts at the time to work on a Star Wars project, and at the time, if you did anything Star Wars related, you had to basically sit down with George Lucas for 10 to 20 minutes. 2.5 hours later, the interview ended.
Okay, cool.
And
That's
he
awesome.
wanted to hire me, but the project never got started, and that was his "I'm sorry, you're not getting hired."
That's an amazing "I'm sorry you're not getting hired" gift.
Yeah,
that's sweet. Absolutely amazing.
I have another lightsaber back here. This is not screen use. This is one of the Disney ones, but it's got serious weight to it.
It looks like it does. Yeah. Okay.
I was actually interested behind that. You have the Akira manga collection.
Or
is that the movies?
No.
Those are the books. You showed that up before. You can show them off again if you want.
No, I've seen them. I've seen the digital version of that. I love the movie. So
yeah.
I've never read the actual physical copies though. That's cool.
There's some things. There's some things you just want. Around your house and that. And
this is Battle Angel over here. Yeah, that's Akira.
Oh yeah.
Got a nice set of the whole Nausicaa series in hardbound with a slipcase. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I have that in my Amazon shopping wish list.
It's very pretty.
I need to get that because it's Nausicaa.
Yeah.
So the only movie memorabilia that I have is actually a leaf from like the tree from the Hobbit thing.
Oh, cool.
So the one I proposed to my fiance at in Auckland at the movie set. One of the tour guides, he handed me and my fiance a leaf from the tree, and he's like, "Here, I took this from the tree, and here's a little present to me." And so we put it in a frame and it's up on everything. So I have a bit of the Hobbit movie.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
I need to dress this one up a little bit more. That's basically Luke's saber. Again, that's a reconstruction.
Not a screen use. Yeah.
But it's I want to go through and really do up the blade. But that's the blade that's in it that can come in and out, making the colors. And it almost looks like it's the way I got the shot there, that it looks like it's been manipulated or something, and it hasn't been.
Cool. About as close to actual props I've ever gotten is Dick Smith. I want to say the effects guy on Evil Dead, who's local here to Detroit. We did dinner one time after a show that he was a guest at, and he pulled out a box of stuff. Here is the frame of this, and here's the actual Book of the Dead from the first Evil Dead movie, that kind of thing. Just
that's
amazing.
Sweet.
Yeah.
No,
there it is.
Nothing like it.
Okay. These are of all my comics, this is my pride and joy. That's the Eastman and Laird run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's 2 copies of 1 and 3 copies of 2. Those are all first prints.
Awesome.
I also have all the micro series stuff. They're not pictured here, but I have all the micro series stuff too. So I got the Raphael, the Michelangelo, but the Leonardo one goes in right before. the be right before this one.
Yeah, the Donatello one shot that they did back during that period. If you open it up to the inside front cover, there's a mention. I'm listed in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my pride and joys.
You're gonna toot horns, toot toot. We exchanged pictures back and forth. We were talking about doing an Anniverse Turtles crossover, but by the time I actually got a plot idea to them, they said that they had done enough crossovers and they were kind of worried about overkill. So I didn't get to do it, but it would have been fun.
Unfortunate.
Had them splitting up and going to 4 different corners of the Anniverse and then everybody getting together at the end. Would have been fun to do.
Well,
another one of those missed it by that much stories.
Scenarios. Yeah. Those are always the worst. You're just almost at it.
Just bobbing and weaving through bad timing. That's what it is.
Speaking about tooting our own horn, I was speaking about comics, I guess. I'm currently writing my very first comic.
Fantastic.
We're calling it Driftwood. So I guess we'll talk about that. It's a story about necromancers and follows the journey of a reluctant hero that's probably the worst human being that you could ever imagine. And his job is going to be to save the universe. And he's kind of thrust into things, and he's going to deal with deities and magic, and he's on the run from his previous his masters, which is the other necromancers or the lich lords. And it's going to have some interdimensional travel in it, some high fantasy, and it should be fun.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah,
I'd read it.
Well, let's hope a bunch of people read it. But I'll send you once it's finished. I'll try to get copies out to everybody. That's
I'd love to check it out. So,
we're still scripting it. I'm talking to the artists now. Randy knows, seen some of the artwork of the people I've talked about for the stuff, but that's a bit under the hat right now until they're actually signed on. And actually, I can show some of the reference art though that I'm working on in 3D that we're using for the book, so let's throw that up.
Oh, definitely do that.
Yeah, just a sec.
I want to see art.
Let me get on my Twitter here.
While you're doing that, I'm downloading a picture that Russ sent me. I think we showed it on Comics by Night. This is what Russ and I are currently working on.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's an adaptation of The Shadow Kingdom by Robert E. Howard.
Oh, I love it.
I like the story behind this one a lot.
The story is really phenomenal. I'm trying to stay as faithful to the work as possible. It's been a real challenge. So I'm still working on it. He's got the first chapter that he's breaking down and doing finals on. I'm on the 3rd chapter, trying to break the story down into pages. It looks like it's going to be about a 60-page book.
And these, when we listening to Randy and
great.
And Russ talk about this particular book is you can tell the passion that both of these guys have for it. And it's it's going to be a sick book just by the smiles, and like you can tell they're great. Like Russ, when he's talking, he's got a grin either ear. When he's talking about it,
he's a big John Buscema fan, especially his Conan work. So this is something he's always wanted to do, and I just love this genre and just love the material. So
if I can ever get my older brother on these shows, you would love it because he's basically a Howard scholar.
Oh yeah, you were mentioning that before. Yeah, I would love to pick his brain sometime.
Yeah, he's a Howard Lovecraft scholar for the most part. He's definitely a student of sword and sorcery and like pulp horror, basically pulps in general. His knowledge of the shadow and everything is insane.
Oh, yeah, he'd be great to have on. Yeah, love that. I saw a copy of Weird Tales with Shadow over Innsmouth in it yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good copy too, way out of my price range, but it would have been fun to have.
Yeah, we're going to ReaderCon in July, which is basically it's a convention all about books. We're gonna be going there in July and to do like panels and well, I'm looking forward to getting into the dealer's room, seeing what bits of paper I can get. So
Yeah. That's why I ran down to Detroit yesterday. It's a paper show. It's pinups. It's books. It's magazines. It's not just comics or a media show where you have all these stars on the back wall and a couple of comic dealers and all these other artisans in there. Those are nice shows, but every once in a while you just want to go to a place where when you walk in the door you smell that newsprint.
Yep.
And that ink, and you go, yeah.
Completely agree.
Yep, makes you feel at home. That's what it does. That musty, even that musty attic smell. You open up one of these old books. Yeah, there it is. Yep.
I haven't organized these yet.
Get that off of that Captain Midnight book. That's incredibly well loved, and you open it up and it's already just in pieces, but it's still readable. So, also picked this up while I was out because I had never bought one before or had a copy of any of the
Barbarella.
Barbarella.
Nice.
Child. Nice collection. Nice fun, almost mod stuff from the I would say late 70s.
So we got here on the thing some of the reference art I just pulled up here.
Cool.
So this is one of the main character, or one of the protagonists. I guess the main character. He's going to be throughout the book, and he's going to be chasing down our hero or anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. And he's one of the Lich Lords, right? So he's an undead wizard or a lich. And so this is it's one of the images of him working on him now. And we do finally do the campaign up on Fund My Comic. I'm going to do a bust of like a life-size bust of this guy. And he'll be one of the perks for the people that want to order the thing. But here's another shot of him. He's got like evil coming out of his head there.
Well, the Lich is something else we can thank Robert E. Howard for.
Lich. Yep.
And
he
we
was
got
inspired
some
by Russian folklore.
Work there.
He's just big on folklore.
Yeah.
In general. Yeah.
Koshé the Deathless.
Love the pics. Love the pics. By the way, I have a copy of Fat Man the Human Flying Saucer #3.
Nice.
You can all be thoroughly jealous now.
Very jealous. Very jealous.
Very rare. Anyway,
That's a book I've never heard of.
nothing like a superhero guy who can change into a flying saucer.
Awesome.
Designed and written by C.C. Beck, who did Captain Marvel, the Shazam Billy Batson Captain Marvel. In fact, on the back cover is an ad for another comic that never came out called Captain Shazam. So, never made an appearance. Would have been cool. He's a turned on super swinger, Captain Shazam is. Now he just recognizes music patterns off of the internet.
I got to
Everybody has to have a superpower.
I got to break down and organize some of this stuff, but my classic Macross stuff.
Oh yeah, Macross is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still like going through and organizing my Macross and Robotech stuff. It's all like the Kamiko run. I have. This is a sampling of it. This isn't close to all of it.
Oh no! Yep. That
Macross was
incredibly hot back in the 80s.
Macross and Robotech was one of the first cartoons that I or anime I watched. Actually,
some of the first anime here in the States.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
This
Aqua Boy, maybe. Marine Boy, I mean. Marine Boy was here. Kimbo was here. Speed Racer.
Speed Racer, Gatchaman, which they call Battle of the Planets. Yamato was here as Star Blazers. You had like Force 5, Ronin Warriors, the other ones of that whole grouping. I can't remember all of them. There's a different one every day.
Yeah.
They're all
set of
superhero
5
shows.
Yep. Very hard, crazy anime stuff.
Yeah,
what else we got back here?
That's all Robotech. And cat hair, because cats get everywhere.
Got some Tarzan and Thunder Agents. Not at the same book, though. That would have been an interesting team up.
Yeah. I want to get a spinner rack just because. So
look at this cover. I love this
Bomba
cover.
Jungle Boy.
This is one of my favorite covers. Just phenomenal stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Who did the cover?
You know, I thought it was Nick Cardy, but I was told it wasn't. And I can't remember who it was now. But when I first saw it, I thought it was a Nick Cardy because of the dynamic look of the layout.
Well, definitely looks like I could see where you would see Nick Cardy. So
he did so many great covers back during this period. But it's not. It's somebody else. But it's really an incredible cover.
Is it my older brother and I? We have interesting plans for today. We're gonna go see Raiders of the Lost Ark in the theater.
Oh, there you go.
The actual Raiders or the Dial of Destiny?
No, Raiders.
Cool. Yeah.
I will see Dial of Destiny just because I'm an Indiana Jones fan, but I'm not expecting much.
Yeah.
I figure I'll probably enjoy it more if I go in with low expectations. So
that's the impression I'm getting. Yes.
Yeah, that's everything I've heard about it. I've heard nothing good about it. And just like the diehard fans who have nice things to say about the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull aren't saying good things about this one.
Yep.
Damn. Even when it sucks by the people, or even when the people that suck think it sucks, it's not going to be good.
I sat through Quadramania the other day, the Ant-Man.
Oh, Quantumania?
Quantumania. Yeah. It was all right, but I can't get past MODOK. It's just what they did to him and how he looks is just terrible.
I think they should have gone more cartoony with him, and it would have just been fine.
I was telling the wife, if they'd have created a different character that almost looked the same as that, I'd have been fine. But don't call him MODOK. Because it was really a slap in the face, in my opinion. It's a hardcore slap in the face to Kirby. What they did to it.
They could have done
and he should have been saved for a more meaner. He could have been a really vicious, very.
He would have been an amazing, I don't know if a whole
horrific
movie could have carried him, but he would have been a good horror villain.
Well, back when I was a kid, I really liked what they were doing with Hydra and Daredevil. And they had an entire setup, an entire mock-up of different characters for different departments that were carrying legions of Hydra agents out doing different things. And Daredevil was trying to break that up. That would have been really fascinating to see and have MODOK be one of those characters and all work through all the way to a master, the head Chief Hydra or Lady Hydra running the entire show. Would have been really good. Make for a great show.
Interesting. I just think they should have made him more cartoony. If they were going to do him, I think that they should have done the effects on him to be much more stylized. The realistic face for him, I didn't really think worked. I think they should have made him more like Darth Vader in the sense of the reveal would have had more power if you figured out later who he was, but it had been changed. I think that would have worked better.
Yep. I agree.
I mean, overall with Quantumania, I enjoyed parts of it. I thought it was, eye candy. For the most part. I liked what they did with Stature. The humor in it, I thought, kind of fit. I did like some of the subtle changes that they made when he got back. They changed things in the current timeline. So what the events of Quantumania have affected things. They did some subtle background things. They moved stuff around that was different. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. But overall of the Marvel movies, it's not very high on my list.
No.
I have it ranked higher than Iron Man 3, but that's not saying much. I really didn't like Iron Man 3. Although that one scene when he like goes in and takes everyone out, when he just basically does the Metal Gear Solid scene, or like the true James Bond kind of scene, that was great.
Yeah.
The rest of the, I just.
Well, they all have their high points, you know. They
Yeah.
also have there's redeeming things about the Eternals.
Yeah, I can
Even
find
they're-
something I like about just about every movie.
Yeah.
So.
And Shang-Chi is a fun brain check movie without
I love Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. It's moves. It's got a good flow to it.
Yeah, it's fun.
They kind of add a little bit more to the lore, and the scene in the back that kind of fits him into the scheme of things in Doctor Strange and with Wong.
Yeah.
Sitting
I
there
can tell
talking
you
about
that-
the bands. That was really cool.
My fiance, who's Cantonese, she was not a fan of the Shang-Chi movie.
I'm sure.
It's just like, what is this? And she's not really a huge comic book fan in general, but I mean, we watched most of the Marvel movies together because I love comics, and I mean, maybe I don't love comics as much as the next person, but because someone's like, I love comics, and then you're like, you know about this, and this book, and I'm like, no. But you know, we watched it together anyways, or most of the Marvel stuff together, and she wasn't a huge fan of the Shang-Chi stuff.
The thing that I liked about Shang-Chi is it's more of a tribute to Hong Kong cinema than it is to anything like cultural in that sense. Because the first scene on the bus where he unloads, like every shot in that is a tribute to Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
It even opens with this 1-inch punch.
Yeah.
But a lot of that fight is basically Bruce Lee style fighting that he does, and then it breaks into Jackie Chan-esque stuff of how he's moving about the bus and doing things.
Yeah.
And that's more what it's trying to do there. But yeah, I could see somebody who's like Cantonese not being very impressed with the film.
But
I mean,
seriously,
she,
what more can you do with that character? Because that movie did literally exactly what the comics did.
Yeah.
You know, for that kung fu movement back in the day, there was a bunch of martial art characters that popped in, and Shang-Chi was the biggest one outside of Iron Fist.
Well, Shang-Chi and Luke Cage are the biggest exploitation, and Black Panther. I mean, we can't ignore Black Panther. Those were all exploitation characters. I mean, the point that they called him Black Panther.
Yeah.
And then you had Luke Cage.
Well, that was pattern too. I think the story is Kirby came up with that because he worked with the Black Panther tank regiment.
Yeah.
Back during World War II. Yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that in the late 1960s, when it came out with the name and all that, and what the political environment was at the time, it definitely had exploitation elements to it. Luke Cage, I think, was more so.
Yeah.
But
well, that's a definite result of Shaft.
Oh God, yeah.
In the comics, just like Punisher is the Mac Bolan novels, without a doubt. Yeah.
Right, he's the destroyer. He quite was it Ramita said when he was designing him that he was the destroyer.
Yeah. What I can say about the Shang-Chi film and like old kung fu movies and stuff, because I'm a big kung fu guy myself, and I studied kung fu actually for a number of years. I got pretty good at it and did a couple events and things. But she's a big. Growing up, she did like all the Jackie Chan early stuff, and then she's a big fan of the Journey to the West or whatever, with like the Monkey King and all those classic Chinese stories, and she loves the Jet Li movies. But she just didn't like the movie. She didn't like Shang-Chi at all. She wasn't a fan.
So it's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's allowed their opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, but like, I get that the homage to the kung fu stuff was in there, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't.
She probably feels the same way about Shang-Chi as I feel about MODOK and Quantumania.
Probably.
It's just an insult. Don't do it. You know, don't go there. You don't need to go there. It's not. To me, it wasn't. It pulled me out of the movie, is what it did, and it shouldn't have. And they should have had enough sense. But they were boasting at the time that Quantumania come out that they were hiring writers who absolutely didn't know the material, and they were happy about that. And that's always going to be a problem when you pull something like that and try to make publicity off of it.
I'm a big fan of know the genre.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to know everything, but you have to understand the genre.
Yeah. Well, it's a great way to kill superhero movies by having people write them who know nothing about heroics or superheroism or don't know the material or haven't at least sat down and read the material. And there's so much great stuff, especially in the Marvel universe, that they could be farming and using. I mean, I fully expected a Black Widow movie after Iron Man 2, and that never happened.
There should have happened. There should have been a Black Widow movie after,
and it would have been great because she just kicked ass in that film. I thought that was really good.
You familiar with the movie The Forbidden Kingdom? It's with Jackie Chan and Jet Li, and they did it together with that one kid. I can't remember.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it was great. And that was a big thing when I was studying Kung Fu years ago. And my Sifu, or my teacher, whoever, the guy, and he was talking about it, and he's like, "This is a great movie." Right. Mm-hmm. And like, if they went that direction, right, they like, toned down a bit of the over the topness to it and just made it like more about the Kung Fu and whatever, and more about the traditional kind of story, and philosophy and stuff, it would have went way better then. So that's probably why it was insulting. I'll have to ask her about it later on, but like why she didn't like it specifically, but she didn't like it. I didn't like it. That's probably why, though. It's just, you could have went in a traditional direction. You could have like all the old Journey to the West stuff, all the old Kung Fu movies, whatever. They just didn't do that. They just tried to make it too much of a superhero movie when they could have just made a really damn decent Kung Fu movie.
I hear you. Yeah. Glenn says the Kirby Black Panther appeared before those activist guys, created by Jack a good 6 months before those other guys.
Well, Black Panther appeared in July of 1966. I know the Black Panther movement started also in 1966. I don't know the exact time frame, but that's semantics. What came first, Doom Patrol or X-Men?
Yeah. Well, he had that. And remember, comics take a good, usually 3 to 6 months prep time too.
And if the Black Panther movement would also be the same thing, because political activists start there before they get known, they're usually around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
Anyway, folks.
But yeah, I mean, they both get the name from the same place. It has its origins in World War II.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that they both got their inspiration from the same
activists place. Appeared in October 66.
So that means they were both created about the same
66,
time.
Yeah.
So it's a negligible point. They weren't inspired by each other. They were separate, most likely. It's one of those weird things, I think, that comes down that both people had the same idea.
Theory is, whenever you come up with an idea, there's 5 other people that have the same idea, and it all depends on how you take it to market. Yeah.
Something that Harlan Ellison
Yep.
They
says no, they were not.
Okay, Glenn. The whole thing that I'm talking about is the civil rights movement of the Black Panthers get their origin from World War II, like where Kirby got the idea for the name. Mm-hmm. The fact that it went to creation beforehand, I just looked at the creation of his first appearance. It was 1966. It was July of 1966. And yes, they were produced 6 months before, but that doesn't mean that there were activists that weren't calling themselves the Black Panthers that probably went back before then.
That's very likely.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Coming into common nomenclature, what came first, the Doom Patrol or the X-Men?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same argument. You get the same idea from different people.
It's the chicken.
Yeah. Well, the chicken came first before the egg, but that's beside the point. The person who studied evolutionary biology can tell you that. So
there you go. That's probably it for this episode of Sunday Funnies, folks. We deeply appreciate you being here. We appreciate you watching us afterwards. We're always archived over in the Indie Comics Network at the Randy Zim YouTube channel as well. Sometimes when Russ is on, Russ will put those episodes over on his channel as well. So first, because you disagree with me doesn't mean you are right. Anyway.
I just looked it up. 1962 is when the first 5 members got together and formed the Black Panthers. So there's that.
Different coasts for different folks. Anyway.
They'll just have an argument, one in the chat, one in the video.
Yeah, there we are.
And I was saying that they probably develop separately. I'm just saying the groups are different. That's all.
Just like X-Men and Doom Patrol. No,
Exactly.
Anyway.
What came first, X-Men or Doom Patrol? You can argue it forever.
Whiskey, tell folks how they can find you.
Okay, so you can find me at Bandit Ricochet at Twitter. Right there, it's right on the bottom of the camera there. And yeah, we do 3D models for everything: figures, action figures, toys, miniatures, especially. We have a tabletop game, miniature war game in development, with 3 different parts to it, 3 different modules you can play individually or together. It's called Banner, Steed, and Lance. It's been in development for several years now. We're getting close to getting the rules out there, but it's a little ways off yet. And yeah, and the comic that we're kind of hoping to tie into the same universe. Still kind of working out. We haven't got it produced yet, but that's you see this character here, the Lich Lord, for it's being called Driftwood is the working title, and we're still writing the script for that. And yeah, so find us on Twitter, send us a message, we'll get you something made in 3D.
Cool.
For whatever you need, action figures, some of your comic book characters, some whatever.
Allie, let folks know where they can find you.
Well, you can find me right here on the Indie Comics Network. I stream on Fridays with Arting with the Alley Cat. I have guests on, I draw, I do other things. I hang out here on Sundays. And as much as myself and Glenn can disagree on this, we both love each other. We're friends. So it's all good. But yeah, that's me, I guess. You can find me on all the social media stuff.
Folks, I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. You've been listening to the Sunday Funnies. We're here every Sunday morning at 9 a.m., where we talk about comics and stuff like that, the stuff that inspires us, that keeps us in this phenomenal business of sequential art. You can find me over at aerocomics.store. You can find a bunch of my work. You can find books like Calico, which is a fantasy property that I created and wrote with artwork by C. Michael Lanning. The great C. Michael Lanning, I should say. The Paragon, which is a superhero story I'm especially proud of, with a great twist ending with artwork by H.R. or J.R. Harris. Revolt, which is an anthology collection that Glenn has a Hatch story in, by the way. I have a story in. It's a nice anthology book. Issue 1 is available over at the store. Issue 2 will be available over there very shortly, and that'll have a Russ Leach cover and story inside. And you can also find 2 issues of HeroBot Zero over there, which is a 3-foot-tall giant robot who defends his city from large monsters and menaces that I created. I did most of number 1 myself, and issue 2 I wrote with the help, artistic help of Empyrean Vole. Great cover by Scott Rosema and a few other folks besides Randy Schilling has a little bit in this book. And yeah, that's about it. But there's a great lead story in here with Empyrean Vole where he fights Tobor. They fight over the city. So other than that, I'm currently working on that fantasy story, sword and sorcery story I told you earlier. I also have another project over on fundmycomic.com that we'll take a quick look at here as we go out the door. That's still available over there. We kind of ended the campaign, and Luke convinced me to reopen it and just leave it open for folks who might want to come in and buy a single issue of The Fool until I get ready for the next campaign. The next campaign is coming. It's currently being colored as we speak. Here is where's the latest page? Here it is, I believe. Boom. There's the latest page for that.
Oh, sweet.
It's a almost like a female Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein story. Lady in a test tube breaks her way out of the scientific labs, and she can grow chains with little hooks on the end of them right out of the palms of her hand. That go flying around.
Hellraiser-esque at all and terrifying. I love it.
A little Hellraiser. It gets a little bit more horrific. It's a lot more horrific than The Fool. That's the current campaign over there now. Yeah.
For a second there, I thought you were going to say it's more horrific than Hellraiser. I'm like, have you read the Hellbound art?
No. I've got a great, I got a great Douglas Bradley story that we talked about here on the show in the past. He's good friends with Clive Barker, and he was the Pinhead in the movies. And how they'd go for walks quite often, and that they'd be in the middle of a conversation and Clive would stop almost mid-sentence and reach in, grab a little notebook and write down furiously some pages, and then put the notebook back in his pocket and pick up right in the mid sentence that he stopped with.
That's how you do it.
That he was going along, because he was always working in another section of his brain, and he stopped, made a bunch of notes. Yeah, continued the conversation. Just amazing. The artistic, the creativity of patterns of these people just fascinate the hell out of me. So
I've read most of Barker's work. I absolutely love his stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, there's the inside front cover and the first page for The Fool for the City. Great self-contained story about a guy who dresses up in weird clothes and goes out and fights street crime using practical joke weapons and jokes. And the cops just want to get him off the street before he hurts himself or somebody else. But he has an incredible sense of luck, and he fights crime with a smile on his face. I like to call him the rodeo clown of justice.
I love it.
The best way to describe
goofy.
it.
I love it.
It's over on Fund My Comic right now. Soon, this property here will be there as well. We're going to call that Alice in Chains, I believe. So I had a couple other names for it, but
it's funny. In my Prototype Zero comic on Patreon, which you can read if you join it, I'm literally working on a girl in a test tube right now.
That's a self-contained story as well, where she breaks out, and it's the scientists that created her are having a big discussion while she's escaping from the lab and causing havoc with all of the guards. And it gets a little gory. It'll be an Arrow 3G book, just for the gore.
I'm gonna have to back that just because I like the concept. So
a lot of great strategic nudity in that, what they call strategic nudity. Yeah, a lot of shadows, a lot of ookiness. So.
Do you have the clever Beowulf thing of hide the wiener?
Not the wiener, but other
I know.
parts,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That movie, just the amount of hide the wiener they did, it took so much. I just couldn't take the movie seriously.
But it is a lot of fun. The pencil work on that is Abdul Rashid. I did the inks on it, and then Patrick Gamma is doing the colors on that as we speak. He's about 6 pages in right now. So I can't wait to see what the rest of it looks like, because what I've seen so far just amazes the heck out of me. Just you got to love people who makes you look good, who makes you look better than what you think you look in the first place. So that's just great. Love his work, love his stuff. And he'll be doing some more coloring for me as soon as that's done too. I've got another issue of The Fool that needs to be colored, and a couple other series that need to be done. So we'll keep that going. So anyway, folks, we hope you have a great week. We're very glad that you were here for us for Sunday Funnies. It's time for us to run. So we are over the 2-hour mark, and it's time to go. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Please try to join us live. We're here at 9 a.m. every Sunday morning. Pretty much every Sunday morning we'll be live. And then Friday mornings, we also do Comics by Night. If you get a chance to watch that, that's also archived over at the Indie Comics Network. We've been going through Watchmen for the last 5 episodes, and we're up to issue 6 now that we'll be covering on Friday morning, 5 a.m. We wish you'd join us for that as well. You're more than welcome to join us live if you can wake up that early. Glenn and Russ, we wish you the best. We hope that Glenn feels better real soon, just after C recovers and then Glenn goes down. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, get better, please, because I want to hear your stories about, every place you've been.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know, is it true that you made it to one of the base stations on Mount Everest? Because that's freaking cool. I don't care if you couldn't have climbed Mount Everest, that you made it to one of the base stations. And anyone who doesn't think that's awesome has no idea of what that mountain's like. So
yeah, we learned that when Daphne was joking about climbing Everest, and then
just
Glenn sent a picture.
Yeah, that's just awesome.
I sent him a picture of the car that Kennedy was assassinated in. He told me all about it. He didn't even see the plaque at the museum, but as soon as he saw the car, he knew exactly what it was. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's just awesome.
I want to leave you the words of Stan Lee. I don't think you can do your best work if you're writing for somebody else, because you never know what that somebody else really thinks or wants. Stan Lee. Take care, everybody. Go visit your local retailer. Buy independent and alternative comics, especially ours. Make sure you leave this business in better shape than what you found it, please. It's a great art form. Go out there and tell your friends how great it is as well, because word of mouth is the best advertising for us all. Make sure you spread the word about Fund My Comics. Go over there and take a look at Bronze Star. Take a look at The Fool. And while you're there, take a look at Soul Tack. If that campaign is still up, I'm pretty sure it's still available, maybe for a limited time. Plus, Chrome Dog is still up there and available to buy into. Some great Aero Comics products. And especially, there's a new one up there that started last week called AR13L, the Little Mermaid, which is already making some really good ground. It's a great product. It's a story of a mermaid mercenary and her companion, who's a little crab that has a knife grafted to his claw, named Sebastian. So cool. Don't miss out on that fun. The minute it's one of those books, just like Bronze Star, you go over and you look at it and you go, "Oh, gonna have to buy in." So wish you the best again. Take care, everybody. Any last words from anybody else?
Nope.
Oh, we'll see you Friday if you're up early enough.
Right, we'll see you. There's a couple of bumps and a few other things as we go out the door. Take care, everybody. Aero Comics is proud to present to you the fast-paced vigilante justice as only... what is this guy dressed as? This is the Fool. This is the Fool from Aero Comics, with great artwork by Chris Tyson, colors by Patrick Gamma, written and created by Randy Zimmerman. This guy runs around the city using practical joke weapons to fight crime, and the cops just want to get him off the street before he hurts somebody. You need to read this book. Available in its own individual campaign or part of Aero Bundle number 2. Aero Bundle number 1 is also available with the Fool campaign over at fundmycomic.com. Check it out. Should also point out that Rift Riders has fulfilled, so you should go watch that. And Soul Tack is fulfilling as we speak. I think everything's in the mail, so wish them the best. Hope you get to read those books because they're really, really good.
The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors. Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com. Want your comics to arrive in pristine condition? Head over to GeminiComicSupply.com and save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order or anything in the Gemini Comics Supply store. Use coupon code RAGIN10. That's
now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
Look, everybody's entitled to be an idiot. A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit.